there's always that one photo that wasn't supposed to exist. Not the ones released by PR teams or shared during glossy interviews. No, we're talking about the kind that slips through the cracks. The kind that's grainy, somehow more revealing than 1,000 polished magazine spreads. And this time, it was Prince Harry, a late-night post. Just a single image that popped up on a quiet Luanda forum. One known more for oil gossip and political chatter than royal drama. But there it was, or maybe not. Prince Harry, drink in, hand relaxed posture, and next to him, and body language that wasn't exactly screaming professional meeting, then dash gone. The post vanished, the account deleted, no trace. But this is the internet. And in the age of Discord sleuths, Reddit detectives, and 24/7 group chats, nothing vanishes for real. By the time the royal press office even heard a whisper, Telegram threads. Before we dive into what this photo actually means, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, because what's unfolding here isn't just a royal scandal, and the closer we look, the more disturbing it gets. At first, no one could even tell if it was real, but zoom after zoom, enhancement after enhancement, there were no royal name tags, no scheduled event, no visible security detail, just two people sharing a moment. And then, it began. The forums lit up, Reddit exploded, side-by-side comparisons of hair, wrists, even posture flooded the timelines. One creator even ran a eye-enhanced body language analysis, insisting that Harry was leaning in just slightly, the kind of lean people reserve for someone they trust or desire. Hashtags started trending. Hashtag Rooftop Harry. Hashtag Who is she? Hashtag that looked done. While the internet turned into a collective Sherlock Holmes, Meghan Markle posted something strange: no faces, no captions. A white porcelain plate with a single fig and a stack of pastel notebooks. The lighting, soft and cinematic. The vibe, intentional. It looked innocent, but the timing was suspicious, and the internet immediately smelled strategy. Some saw it as shade, others called it a distraction, but most knew it for what it was: a smoke bomb. Meghan was posting mood boards. Meanwhile, Harry was officially still in Angola, retracing Diana's steps, visiting minefields, smiling at photo ops. But no one was talking about any of that anymore. The conversation had shifted completely. That woman, and the eerie silence surrounding it all. And it only got worse because whispers from inside the palace started to surface. No tracking data. And, more importantly, he reportedly missed a scheduled Zoom call with senior palace aides. A call that was meant to help smooth tensions between Harry and King Charles. The excuse? One. Even told a UK tabloid he wasn't unavailable. And just like that, a wildfire caught flame. Then came the message, sent quietly to editors across 3 major British tabloids. Not from Meghan's team. Not from Harry's, but from someone in the palace. 5 words. Nothing is as it seems. Number. Context, no clarification. This was a hit because within hours the tone of media coverage shifted. Articles that once painted Harry as the rogue prince fighting for truth and justice were now using words like unforced distraction and PR blunder. Slightly, and TikTok. It went wild. Users dissected the image like it was a Zapruder film. One video viewed over 2 million times, zoomed in on Harry's elbow. Laming the angle showed a romantic lean. People weren't just speculating, they were convinced this wasn't random. This was a moment. Came the twist. A second photo. Word began to circulate that another image had surfaced. Not blurry, not distant, clear, closer, more intimate. A freelance paparazzo, reportedly based in West Africa, claimed someone captured a second shot just minutes after the first. And this time, the woman's face was visible. Fully, not a royal, but not a nobody either. Sources claimed she was part of a prominent UK family. Old money, boarding schools, the kind of woman who'd once been in the same garden party circles as Harry, long before Meghan came into the picture. The image reportedly showed the two sitting close at a rooftop table, both with drinks. No touching, no kissing, but a kind of natural intimacy that's hard to fake, and that photo, at all. According to multiple industry insiders, that second photo was quietly offered to 3 major European tabloids. Not splashed across front pages, not auctioned to the highest bidder, just shown. Privately, discreetly, and yet all 3 declined. Not because the photo lacked impact, quite the opposite, but because legal threats were already flying. Lawyers from unknown sources issued soft warnings. Phrases like right to privacy, defamatory implications, and actionable harm were tossed around before the image even had a chance to surface publicly. It wasn't journalism that killed the story. It was power. Someone was trying to bury it fast. But why? Was it Meghan's team, desperate to avoid another narrative collapse? Was it the palace, making sure their wayward son didn't bring more shame to the institution? Or was it the woman in the photo, a figure with just enough influence and just enough to lose that exposure wasn't an option? Because here's the thing, if this woman is who people think she is, then this isn't just a scandal, it's a power game. The kind played by people with deep roots, deeper pockets, and connections that don't flinch under pressure. And while that silent war played out behind the scenes, Meghan's team launched their own kind of counterattack. A sudden product pivot without warning. Her long-rumored wine brand launch was a polished promo video dropped overnight. Meghan, draped in soft pink, standing behind a minimalist table set with roses and stemware. She spoke about celebration, femininity, and fresh beginnings. A full aesthetic pivot from scandal to sophistication, but the internet wasn't buying it. The comment section was hijacked within the hour. Thousands of messages flooded in and almost none were about wine. They asked where Harry was. They demanded answers about the rooftop photo. They questioned the silence. And then the comments were shut off. Silence again. And that silence, it was starting to feel familiar, eerie, controlled. Like the quiet that comes just before a storm rips the roof off everything. PR insiders began whispering something had cracked. Influencers who were once eager to promote Meghan's brand suddenly gupted a few, even untagged older posts. One social media strategist leaked that they were told to hold off on any Sussex-related content until further notice. Even internally, things were shifting. A staffer reportedly wiped all references to the Sussexes from her LinkedIn page. Another allegedly told colleagues she was taking a step back from the brand. And perhaps most telling, of Alcohol's 2 lifestyle partners for branded launches were met with polite declines. One exec summed it up bluntly, "There's too much noise. We don't want to be the face of this mess." And just when Meghan's team thought the worst had passed, came the real blow. Netflix, the very platform that had once paid them tens of millions, that proudly backed their documentaries, podcasts, and animated pitches, that turned their story into content gold. Now, it hit pause. According to multiple sources, a new Sussex-backed documentary about environmental legacy already in development was quietly put under review. Not cancelled, not scrapped, but stalled. Frozen. Official word. Still in planning stages. Unofficial word. Risk. That one word echoed across meetings, emails, and internal memos. The brand that once symbolized rebellion and reinvention was now being labeled as unstable, volatile, toxic to sponsors, because the drama wasn't just in tabloids anymore, it was bleeding into boardrooms. And that kind of damage, it doesn't just fade away. Worse still, Meghan's birthday came and went, and with it, a clear shift in media sentiment. No glossy tributes, no glowing retrospectives, just recycled articles and a few lukewarm reposts from friendly outlets. It was a whisper of a celebration. A flicker where there used to be fireworks. Behind closed doors, the once well-oiled PR machine had begun to sputter. One source close to the couple said, "They've lost control of the narrative and everyone feels it." But the fallout wasn't just digital. Back in Angola, those who encountered Harry firsthand began speaking up, quietly, carefully, but the picture they painted was grim. "He looked distracted," said one volunteer. "Not rude, not cold, just ... not there." At official appearances, Harry showed up but barely engaged. No heartfelt speeches, no off-the-cuff jokes, just tight smiles and a glazed-over stare. He skipped a dinner with event organizers, citing a headache. One BBC reporter allegedly told colleagues that Harry looked hollow, that his mind was clearly elsewhere, and then came the detail no one could ignore. A hotel staffer mentioned Harry had spent time alone on the rooftop. Yes, that rooftop, the one with the view, the privacy, the controlled guest list. The rooftop where the now infamous photo was taken. Same location, same outfit, same timeline, everything lined up, and that's when it hit people. This wasn't some tabloid mix-up. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't a Photoshop job or a misidentified stranger. This was real, and it wasn't just a PR problem anymore, it was a relationship problem, a branding crisis, maybe even a marriage on the edge, because if Harry really was seen on that rooftop with that woman, and if the second photo ever leaks, then everything the Sussexes have spent years building, every deal, every documentary, every curated image could come crumbling down. As the digital storm grew, so did the offline chaos. Montecito, usually a sanctuary of curated calm and pap-proof hedges, began to buzz with whispers, not just from tabloids but from neighbors, people who lived near the Sussex estate, people who noticed things, and what they noticed wasn't subtle. Meghan was being seen alone frequently. Morning walks without Harry, grocery runs solo, yoga visits without a driver, all small things on their own but in the world of image control. They spoke volumes. Gone were the hand-holding photo ops, the united front, the orchestrated charity appearances. Now it looked like two brands silently drifting apart, held together not by passion, but by paperwork. Then came the blind items, those anonymous tips, floating like smoke through celebrity gossip blogs. Hints of explosive arguments behind closed doors, a woman in luxury loungewear pacing her Montecito garden, yelling into her phone, and always the same name, Harry. One source claimed she was overheard repeating the phrase he promised over and over again. Voice-cracking moments of silence interrupted by muffled sobs. Another said a longtime staff member had handed in notice, citing a hostile shift in energy, and yet no statement, no post, no denial, just the legal threats, at least for gossip accounts. Some massive others niche reported receiving cease and desist emails, not for sharing the photo, but for simply referencing it, mentioning the rooftop, speculating on what may have happened, the claim, defamatory inference. But this time, the legal threats didn't work. They backfired, because if it wasn't, real why try so hard to erase it? Why silence accounts that hadn't even posted the image? Why kill a story that, if false, would be easy to laugh off? The logic didn't add up, and online detectives knew it. The narrative was slipping, and that's when the final thread started to unravel. Brand partners, those silent forces that prop up celebrity ventures, began backing away. One skincare brand quietly pulled out of a collaboration deal with Meghan's team. Another home decor brand that had previously partnered on a lifestyle campaign sent a single-sentence reply when asked about future plans. We're moving in a different direction, even friendly. Journalists, those who once wrote glowing, reverent pieces about Meghan's grace and elegance, began going quiet. One freelance contributor admitted, "We've been told to steer clear for now. It's too messy," and it all pointed back to one question that no one could answer publicly. What's actually going on? Behind the filtered photos, the carefully worded bios, the pastel-toned branding, something was crumbling, and the public could feel it. And just as Meghan was trying to reboot her image through her rose launch, the cracks were showing. Because while she smiled into a camera behind etched glassware and pale pink dresses, Harry was nowhere to be seen. Literally, not in the promo photos, not in behind-the-scenes footage. Not even in supportive social media posts. The man who once walked hand-in-hand with Meghan through every brand venture was now a ghost. And for many, that silence said more than any statement ever could. And then came the Vegas echoes. As the scandal dragged on, old headlines resurfaced. Photos of a younger Harry wild-eyed shirtless, laughing with girls in luxury hotel rooms. The infamous billiards night, the party prince moniker that had once embarrassed the palace but was now being reframed. Because back then, the firm could clean it up. They had the power, the connections, the control. But now Harry was on his own, and the internet wasn't just judging his past. It was comparing it to his present, same playbook, different city, much higher stakes. Because this time, the fallout didn't just threaten his reputation. It threatened his entire rebrand, his deals, his marriage, his fatherhood. And then, perhaps most damning of all, came the report from someone inside the BBC. An embedded reporter on part of Harry's Angola trip allegedly described him as visibly rattled, said he looked like a man trying to disappear, that his smiles were forced, his energy low, his answers rehearsed, and that during one break in filming, Harry had wandered back up to the rooftop alone. Not just a rooftop, the rooftop, and that detail, that confirmation, it sent the entire narrative into freefall. Because if that's true, if Harry really returned to that same rooftop, after the photo had already gone viral, after the second image was allegedly taken, then this wasn't just a mistake. This was a choice, a repeated one. And if the timeline lines up, and many believe it does, then that photo, that moment, that scandal wasn't an accident. It was something else, something ongoing. And now the world wasn't asking if something happened. They were asking why. Why was Harry risking everything? Why was Meghan trying so hard to steer the ship away while seemingly abandoned at the helm? And most importantly, who was the woman in the frame? Because rumors began to swirl that her family had ties to old British institutions. Discreet, powerful, the kind that don't sue newspapers, they call and have stories buried, and buried it was. Every trace of that second photo vanished. But not before a handful of insiders claimed it had already changed hands for a price. Several sources whispered the same chilling detail, that the second image, the clear one, the close-up, wasn't just buried, it was bought. Not by a media outlet, not by a collector, but by someone with motive, with money, with a reason to make Sure, it never saw daylight. The whispers varied. Some claimed Meghan's team pulled every legal and financial string they had. Others said the woman's family stepped in quietly, but with force. One theory even floated the idea that palace intermediaries were involved, not to protect Harry, but to control him, because if that photo ever leaks publicly, undeniably Harry's independence could shatter. No more sympathetic interviews, no more rebrand as the wounded prince on a quest for meaning. No more clean exits, just a narrative collapse. And here's the thing, the photo may be gone for now, but the damage ISN's single quotes, "In the days that followed, insider reports painted a picture of two people under siege, not by the press, but by each other, that in the Montecito estate, the silence was deafening, that Harry was reportedly staying in the guest house, that meetings were happening with advisors individually, that for the first time since their departure from royal life, they weren't on the same page, and that's a problem. Because for the Sussex brand to survive unity, isn't optional lit's the entire foundation? Without that, everything crumbles and people are noticing." Photographers posted videos of Meghan arriving at events solo. No ring in sight. No we in her statements. PR reps gave strictly Meghan-only quotes. The word Duchess was used more often than wife, a subtle shift but one that those in the media world recognized instantly, and Harry, absent, not just physically, but digitally. No updates, no comments, no participation in brand posts or projects. His face was missing, his voice was missing, his presence was missing, and in that vacuum, speculation thrives, because when two people so tightly packaged begin to fray quietly, there's always a storm waiting to burst. And that storm, it might already be forming behind the scenes. People close to the couple say the brand machine is on pause, that multiple sponsors have pulled funding or delayed rollouts, that former staff members are under gag orders, that attorneys are preparing for contingencies no one thought they'd need. It's the kind of internal movement that happens, not when things are bad, but when people expect them to get worse. And still, no photo, no statement, no denial, just those 5 words from the palace, "Nothing is as it seems." And they were right, because what started as a grainy late-night post from an obscure forum has turned into something no one can control. Not Harry, not Meghan, not the palace, not even the internet. And here's the truth, the photo may never see the light of day. It might remain hidden, protected by money and silence and lawyers, but the question it raised, it's not going anywhere. Who was the woman? Why was Harry there? And what happens now? The damage has already been done, the trust cracked, the illusion gone, and the silence. Screaming because some scandals don't need proof, they just need enough doubt, enough smoke, enough hesitation to make people pause. And this scandal, it's no longer about a rooftop photo, it's about the end of a carefully controlled narrative. The unraveling of a brand built on unity, loyalty, and public redemption, and the terrifying realization that behind all the PR gloss, even fairy tales can rot from the inside. Asterisk. So the question is, if the second photo ever leaks, not just whispered about, not just hinted at, but leaked in full, will there be anything left to protect? Because when your entire brand is built on authenticity and love, it only takes one image to expose the truth. And that image, it's still out there, waiting. Asterisk. If you want the full story, when that photo finally surfaces, don't just scroll. Hit that subscribe button now, because trust me, this isn't over, not by a long shot.